Hello, welcome to Irish Football Fan TV. It's myself, Paul Nealon, with Gary Spain, and we're joined by Laurence Mora from Welsh Football Fans. Laurence, how are you keeping this morning?
Yeah, I'm really good, guys. Really good. Looking forward to this afternoon. Just absolutely gutted that I've been robbed of a few days in Dublin. Yeah, it's like 2020 obviously has just been absolutely crazy. And while the Euros kind of like felt, it felt like it had to be postponed and all the rest of it. But actually, it's hit me hard not going to Finland this week, this autumn, and not spending a few days in Dublin, which I absolutely love, and also then missing out on the trip to Bulgaria straight off the back of Dublin. So it's been a tough year, hasn't it? But at least we've got the football. Paul, you're going, aren't you, mate? So I'm for you.
Yeah, I'll be at the game later on today, but it's kind of there's an element of deflation, obviously, with the result against Slovakia the other night. Gary was actually at that out in Bratislava, so there's an element of deflation there at the moment. We'll be looking to bounce back today, but that's kind of why we got you on, to kind of see what we can expect from Wales today and what you're basically expecting, because I mean, you have really kicked on. But what are your thoughts kind of coming into the game today?
Yeah, we have kicked on, definitely. But I think we're obviously going to be facing us when we're not at full strength in this. Obviously, no Bale, no Joe Allen. And it is a very, very young team. It's a very young team compared to the ones that kind of got through the qualifiers. More experience. The young lads have come on a bundle. I think our sort of slight lack of depth got kind of shown up against England though on Thursday, and that was a bit of a shock to the lads that were playing. But look, I think there's a few of them that stepped up, and just having Aaron Ramsey back fit, that's going to be a big one. But our big one, and it feels bizarre saying it, because 12 months ago, it was just like this guy was coming in. But Kiefer Moore has made an unbelievable difference to us. He's sort of pulled together everything that Ryan Giggs wants to do with the team. And now he almost feels kind of one of the most important players. So if he's going to be fit today, that's going to be a really big thing for us. And that'll be maybe the sort of match-defining moment, really, I think.
Yeah, I think today it's for Ireland anyway. I think that we won't be at full strength either, because obviously we played the extra time and penalties, and we picked up injuries. McGoldrick is out and a few others. So I think Stephen Kenny will actually be experimenting. We spent the 2 games last month experimenting as well, because obviously the new manager coming in, he's trying to get his kind of ideas and philosophy across, a bit like Giggs, and that's something that Gary wants, I think, to ask you about. So Gary, if you want to fire away.
Yeah, Laurence, I've got some Welsh mates, and maybe take you back a little bit in the development, because here in Ireland, we're probably at the beginning of the similar process. Euro 2016, I suppose for every Welsh fan in living memory, it's your greatest campaign. And I actually got to a couple of the Wales games. I was in Toulouse, and I was in Lille actually for the Belgium game as well. They were fantastic, absolutely brilliant. And I will mention our game in Cardiff in 2017. And I know it was a gutting defeat for you, and maybe we were a little bit fortunate or rode our luck. But it's what happened after that really interests me, because I'm sure you were absolutely gutted missing out in the World Cup. But my understanding is Ryan Giggs brought a squad to China and did a kind of a rebuilding, re-imaging purpose. There was a lot of work done on that China trip, and it took time, but absolutely has produced another squad. Again, building on some of the players, but some of the players from Euro 2016 are obviously gone now, and not just, you've been without Gareth Bale, who's obviously absolutely world-class player, but even without Gareth Bale, you've become a formidable force. You've already qualified for the Euros. You didn't need a playoff, and looking in very good shape for the Euros next year, and have made a fantastic start in the Nations League. So I suppose it's a roundabout way in wondering, hopefully we're on a similar journey. But has he always had the fans with him in that journey, or am I misreading some of it? Has it gone a different way?
No. There's Giggs's relationship with the fans is kind of, yeah, it's an odd one. It's not necessarily just that he was this glorious hero like Gareth Bale. There was always a sort of suggestions of him missing too many matches, putting too much of an emphasis on, or more of an emphasis on, his Manchester United career than his Wales career. I personally, and this is only my personal views, because there are fans that kind of just won't forgive him for missing those games, and that sort of tarnishes their view of what he's doing for the managerial for Wales. But he's, it was a tough period. I wouldn't have wanted to turn up under Bobby Gould. Bobby Gould was an absolute, disaster for our country. And Ryan Giggs had to put up with that. And he had to come from the elite at Manchester United to come from Wales. But anyway, that's way in the past. So there was always this slightly awkward kind of relationship and his off-field stories that followed him round. So he wasn't an overwhelmingly popular appointment. However, I think the way he's gone about it, the way he's built the squad, what people can see him doing with the young players, because you look at the squad then that played or was chosen for the England game, for example, on Thursday. There was only 7 of the Euro 2016 squad left over. So he has brought in these young players who are fantastic, but have got no experience. You've got the likes of Ethan Ampadu, who barely really got his club career going yet. But he's already got sort of 15, 16 caps for Wales under his belt at the age of 20. And you've got this whole group of players of that sort of age who are now getting kind of reasonably experienced international players. And when they come into the Wales squad, they know exactly what's expected of them. They know how Giggs wants to play. But it's been a bit of a roller coaster for him. There were back-to-back defeats in Euro qualifying to Hungary and Croatia in the summer of 2019. And I tell you what, that was pretty tasty. He was getting a lot of pelters at that point. He was under a lot of pressure. They came back in the autumn and they didn't play very well against Azerbaijan, but they got over the line. Again, Gareth Bale sort of coming up with the goods late on. And it just started to roll. He got Kiefer Moore into that position. They managed to find a system that worked and a system that the players believed in. And once that just started to roll, the momentum's taken them. And then you can see 8 games unbeaten, 4 wins on the spin before we played England on Thursday. And that result was disappointing. So it'll be interesting to see how the players react to that. And like I say, this afternoon, without the really experienced players, you kind of feel that there's a couple of things I think he's maybe gone too young now. I think he needs to bring in the likes of Vokes and Chester and bring them back into the squad to give it a little bit more stability. Some of the younger players, they're very, very talented, but they're not altogether just there.
I just wonder, though, because he's had such success with these young players, would it be unfair to leave some of them out? And I suppose, what do you expect today from those young players?
Yeah, I'm expecting good performance, to be honest. So obviously David Brooks and Harry Wilson and Dan James all sat out the England game. No, they didn't play in that. Apparently, they've been not very well. Non-COVID related, but not very well. So they are. So they've been rested up. They've not had a great deal of training, from what Giggs says, but I think they're fit and they're ready to play, and I think they'll start. And I think that was always kind of his plan, because you've got these 3 games, right, in quick succession. So I think he'll tinker with it again, and it'll just depend on whether Kiefer Moore is fit or not, who he plays in the number 9 and how he kind of sets that up. But I'm expecting, if Kiefer Moore's fit, he'll play with Kiefer Moore up front. He'll play with Brooks and Dan James either side of him, and Aaron Ramsey in the number 10 role. So that's, I imagine, how our front 4 will look.
That's pretty formidable, front 4.
Which got some pace, hasn't it? It's got some pace and some trickery. Yeah. And then Kiefer Moore bludgeoning away at the top end, So, yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how your boys are after. Are you expecting lots of changes today?
Yeah, I think we've had quite a few injuries as well. So, and we were already missing the 2 lads because of COVID, which what actually turned out to be a false positive test on one of the backroom staff. But I presume it's too late to allow the players back to play today. So yeah, we have a couple of injuries. David McGoldrick is out, and James McCarthy is very, very doubtful. I'm assuming he'll be out as well. Our defence is actually our strong point. I think we've certainly discussed that before. Darren Randolph in goal, the top keeper. Our back four of Matt Doherty, Shane Duffy, John Egan, Nenda Stevens, I think pretty much picks itself at the moment. Well, given that Seamus Coleman is out. And so after that, I suppose it's we actually played quite well on Thursday night. Unfortunately, couldn't get a goal. But so our problem will probably be again causing problems for your defence, and I'm just wondering how strong you'll be in that department.
Yeah, so our centre halves basically are our kids. We're really starting from scratch. Joe Roden, who is very talented, 22, but only a handful of caps to his name. Chris Mepham's going to have a late fitness test, so we don't know if he's going to play this afternoon. And then Ben Cabango as well, who's only 19, may have just turned 20 by now. But yeah, he's kind of in his fledgling stage of his Swansea career, but he's been fast-tracked into the senior team as well. So it could be this afternoon that he does play Ethan Ampadu at centre-back. That's a potential. But it just depends then who he plays in the central midfield, because without Joe Allen and what have you, then Joe Morell's not at 100% fitness. So it could be a very young central midfield, and I think that is possibly where you could get at us. I'd like him to play Johnny Williams a little bit deeper alongside Joe Morell. That's how I'd set up that midfield two in front of the back four, and then play Ethan Ampadu in the back four alongside Joe Roden. But we'll see what he does there. Whether that happens or not, I don't know. He might want to go for a little bit more power in the central midfield from Ethan.
Yeah, Ethan is one we very much feel is got away. Actually, his father is an under-21 international for us, as you probably know, and I mean on loan now at Sheffield United, but probably a star for the future for Chelsea.
And yeah, undoubtedly. Although in the words of his dad, he would never have let his Welsh mother down. Never, never, never.
He's actually recently moved to Sheffield United, so I think he's there full time now. But
he's on loan from Chelsea at the moment.
Is he okay? I thought they signed him.
Yeah, so he's gone up there on loan. I think it's Rhian Brewster's gone there as a full-time signing. But yeah, no, Ethan is still on loan from Chelsea, and from what I understand as well, Chelsea are like they still rate him. They still think he's got a future there. But it's kind of this decision in whether he plays central midfield or whether he plays at centre back, and it seems to be kind of a big one. Certainly amongst our fans, whenever we have things on the page, the fans are split on where they think he should play. I think the majority may be coming towards him playing in central midfield because they love to see him bossing it in there, and he's got that big physicality and that big presence in the middle of midfield. But he's a huge lad and he keeps getting bigger as well. So you kind of think he may be built as a centre back really in the future.
Yeah, just kind of on like the midfield. Like I would actually like to see today players like Josh Cullen getting a run, Jason Malumbi at Brighton, because you've obviously mentioned there, gone through the team, a lot of youngsters there. Like a couple of the players played last month. We also have a player there at the moment with Jack Bird, who plays for Shamrock Rovers, and he's a different type of midfielder than what we have. He's a number 10. He gets on the ball, he makes play happen. Really good dead ball, set pieces, really good, and has something that a lot of our midfielders are, I would just say, athletic, and they get around the pitch well, but they don't seem to have that eye for the pass, whereas Jack does. A lot of people have reservations because he plays in the League of Ireland, he plays for Shamrock Rovers, but he did used to play. He came through at Man City, the academy there at Man City, and was playing in the Championship in League One in Scotland and stuff like that. Kind of fell a little bit out of love of football, and now he's back playing the League of Ireland, and he's picking up Player of the Month and Player of the Year last season. And he has Shamrock Rovers at the top of the league. So I think a lot of people were really disappointed that he didn't play in the extra time against Slovakia, because they felt that was what we were needing, that person who can spot that pass. So I think he should probably get a run today. I would like to see him get a run today. Gary mentioned our back four staying the same. I don't see that being the case, because Matt Doherty looked like he picked up a hamstring strain. But nothing's been confirmed, because Stephen Kenny never said that yesterday. He only said that Dave McGoldrick would be out and James McCarthy's doubtful. So he didn't actually say it about Matt. But I think that Mourinho will be on to Stephen Kenny saying, listen, he's played 120 minutes, bring in Cyrus Christie. And I think that the centre-backs as well, they've all played, 120 minutes. So I could see a lot of changes being brought in today. I really think so. And one player who I mentioned already, Jack Byrne, I'd love to see him getting a run today and just seeing what he can do, because a lot of people are saying, oh, League of Ireland. But the fella came through at Man City. He played Championship level. No disrespect, but a lot of your players will be either Premier League or Championship or maybe lower. So I don't feel as though if he did come in today that he would struggle as much as people probably make out to be.
It's interesting because I think you guys now have got more Premier League players. If I was going through the two squads, and I think you guys have got more Premier League players than we have at the moment.
Yeah, it's probably a case of who's actually playing though at their clubs more so. I know they're in the squads and stuff like that, but like players like Robbie Brady, who will probably play a key role today. If he I'd say he starts today. I think he needs the minutes, and I think Stephen Kenny might be looking at a situation where if he gives players minutes today, they could be going back into their club form a bit sharper and maybe start getting game time that way.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's interesting. Do you think your boys are going to be knackered and like kind of pretty deflated after those, or is this a good game to sort of pick them up and go again, sort of get it out of the system quite quickly? So I know I'm just talking to some of our players. You remember after they lost to you guys in 2017, there was like Joe Allen. I remember him talking about it and just saying like it took months to get over that defeat, and the fact that the World Cup sort of disappeared from opportunity really affected a lot of them.
I think it's key the fact that we actually have a game straight after, whereas before when we played Denmark after we played yous in Cardiff that time, I think we didn't have anything to go off. We were deflated for months, and we had to wait then for a couple of friendlies, and then that was kind of just the end then of Martin O'Neill. Pretty much after that, we went into a couple of Nations League games. Hughes hammered us, and we drew with Northern Ireland, and he was pretty much effectively gone after that. It wasn't really a good time, but yeah, there was like a deflation. But thankfully, these games, if we can get a win out of either today or against Finland or both, we'll be going on really positive then for the future. But there's already people turning on Stephen Kenny, and he hasn't done a whole lot wrong. He's had about probably 4 days.
Games has he had so far in charge? 3 or 4 games?
Yeah, but he probably had about 4 days to work on training and his different, because he's bringing in a totally different style of play that Irish fans generally, like, Irish football is not used to. It's a more passing approach. It's controlled. It's keeping the ball. There's not this long ball to try and just defend, and then try and sneak a goal, which had been the case under Mick McCarthy and Martin O'Neill for a long time. So he's trying to implement new ways, dominating possession, getting on the ball. And to be honest with you, I just think we're a couple of goals away from actually just getting it right. We have everything, seems to be, looking well, and our transitions of play look really good, but we just haven't scored, and that's been our only real problem.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, I think part of this. Yes.
Sorry, Gary.
I was just going to say part of the problem for Stephen is that he had such a massive game as Slovakia as his third game, and he had to start off with competitive games in the Nations League. I think Ryan Giggs was fortunate that he was able to start and concentrate with a few friendlies. But and I think the problem now is he was using the Nations League to experiment, and it'll be interesting to see the team today, because I feel he still needs time with the players, and I really hope he's given the time, because I think he will be a great manager for us. But he may feel the pressure as well that he needs a win. As Paul said, if we could get one win in these 2 games, whether it's today or in Helsinki on Wednesday, I think that would lift a lot of the pressure, lift some of the gloom. I mean, unfortunately, Thursday night was a massive downer for us. We've got the finals or some of the games in Dublin next June, and it would have been absolutely amazing to have been in it. And now we're going to have to watch either Slovakia or Northern Ireland come to Dublin and play, saying it could have been us. And I know for some of our, I'd like to see Northern Ireland do it personally. Okay. But a lot of our fans actually are praying Slovakia do it. It would just be maybe too much to watch them come to Dublin. So it's probably one that will probably divide. I'm probably actually in the minority in that, I'll admit. But
you definitely are.
I'm just trying to. I'm still seeing
it as our rivals.
I'm trying to imagine England coming in our place to Cardiff to play in a European Championship. No, I couldn't have that. But yeah, so it's just what you were saying there about Giggs actually, and like you're absolutely right. He had almost kind of 9 months really before he got into a kind of proper competitive match. And that was against you guys in Cardiff, and he'd had that time in China with them. They'd kind of had a little training camp as well. Kind of in the summer. I think they had friendly. They'd gone to Mexico, hadn't they? They'd gone to America to play against Mexico in the summer. So he'd had these number of friendly matches where he'd experimented, where he tried to put into place what he wanted to happen, and then we hit the ground running against you guys with that unbelievable performance. It got a little bit stickier and a little bit choppier after that, but. I think, he used that Nations League last time as a kind of experimental and kind of blooding lots of new young players. And that kind of, there was always then the European Championship qualifiers coming up. And that was always the aim, to then have the team kind of firing for that. So I think it's tough on Kelly. It looks really tough on him to go right into the midst of it. So straight from the off. And it takes a manager a while, doesn't it? Especially on international camps where they got so few days with the players beforehand. It's like keep all the messaging simple, keep the game plan simple, and try and get the right players in the right positions. And it kind of almost is as simple as that, really.
Yeah, I just see as well, Laurence. I mean, I presume your focus is very much on winning the Nations League group, because whoever wins the group will probably be guaranteed at least a playoff for the World Cup for 2022. So it's a massive prize. We probably need 4 wins to do that. So it might be a little bit unrealistic, but I presume you see Wales as being, if not favourites today, but certainly favourites to win the group.
I think the position we've put ourselves in with the win in Finland, I think, that's definitely, I would say we've got to be favourites really to win the group, and we've got to go out and improve it. And it was sort of, a couple of really tough games, especially like kind of the way the players are being, they're all over the place in terms of their fitness, aren't there? There's so many players at different levels of fitness because of what happened at the end of last season and the late start this season and all that kind of stuff. So I think you're going to get dips in performance here and there, and having 3 games in such quick succession is a real test of the squad. But I think if we can get a result against you guys, a win here, and I think, we'd be then disappointed if we didn't go on to win the group. But it is going to be tough this afternoon. It's going to be really tough. I think just maybe having Aaron Ramsey back maybe just tips it in our advantage, because he's fit and he's been flying for Juventus so far this season. He looks like he's in Pirlo's plans. He didn't play on Thursday. He's rocked into camp as the man about the place, and hopefully he's gonna show his stuff this afternoon.
Oh, I remember when we used to have players at top clubs.
Matt Doherty. Spurs fans might disagree, Paul, with Matt Doherty. Top 6 club.
They're not Juventus or Real Madrid.
No, they're not Juventus. I was a bit tongue in cheek there because I can't remember the last time they won a trophy. But
Ben Davis was talking about Matt Doherty actually on yesterday in his press stuff, and he was bigging him up. So he said he didn't message him after the penalty miss, because he said sometimes things are best left unsaid, but he was saying since he's come into Spurs, he's shown his qualities. I think they're quite good mates. They seem to be quite good mates off the pitch, and so if he does play, it'll be an interesting, because they'll be coming up against each other, won't they, in that sort of right back, left back role. So if he does play, then interesting. But obviously, I think you were saying that you think Cyrus Christie or start in Matt's position.
Yeah, well, hopefully it's not a case of Neil Taylor and James Coleman happening again at the Aviva. We don't want that happening. But look,
or James McLean. No, not who was it? It was who elbowed Joe Allen out of the game.
Glenn Whelan.
No, it wasn't Glenn. It was the Myler. That was it. Yeah.
That was a bit of a sandwich, to be fair, but that was payback for Seamus, I feel. But no, the thing I like about
he was running the show as well that game. He was running the show at that point.
Yeah, well, we were actually blessed in that game that he went off, because at that point then we still were very much backs to the wall, and Shane Duffy was outstanding that night. But yeah, I think we really rode our luck, as Gary mentioned earlier, and obviously got that goal in the end somehow. But the thing I like about, obviously, with Wales is, like, there's a good bit of banter there between the fans. Like, there's no real hatred. Like, we would always get on to you before the games, and it's a feel good kind of game. And I would actually say now that Wales have almost, well, they've overtaken Ireland. For many years, it was, you'd probably say England on a slightly lesser level, it would be Ireland, and then Scotland, kind of Wales. And for years, we'd kind of stayed at the top of that, and we'd been performing, we qualified for stuff. But now it's actually been a case where Wales have overtaken us. So I would say now at this point, and you just look really good for the future. But what would be your, just on that, and then lastly, just to kind of finish off, what your prediction will be then for today, in your own kind of words?
Yeah, well, listen, that's really kind of you to say so, and I think you're right. I think we've just this younger group of players we've had coming through, and coming through at the same time where Ryan has come in and taken charge of the squad, and it seems like there's this really strong kind of structure right the way through. Do you know what I mean? From like the 15s, 16s, 17s to 21s, and then into that senior team. And there's a real core of players who've just come through together. And you know what it's like. I mean, you guys saw it, right? If you have a team that is together off the pitch, and you can tell that they're mates and they enjoy coming away on international, it makes a hell of a difference. You can beat teams that have got a load of individuals who are all flying in from different parts of the world and are superstars or whatever. But if they're not a proper team at international level and they don't fight for each other, then you're going to struggle. So that's a really important thing in the Welsh squad, and I think it's a real bonus for us. And so I think at the moment I would say we are out of the British and Irish Isles. I would say then this it's Wales just behind kind of England, who have got like an unbelievable depth of squad, haven't they? But so fantastic stuff for that. This afternoon's game, I think we'll nick it 1-0. I think it 1-0 again, and I think it'll be a David Brooks winner. David Brooks winner sometime in the first half, late first half. 1-0. It'll be a bit stodgy as well. It's not going to be free-flowing football or anything like that. A little bit stodgy, some tackles flying in, and just to finish off then, absolutely bloody gutted that there would be no fans at all there. I mean, it's. Have you been to? Obviously, you were there, Gary. I think it was an empty stadium. Like, I was at Wembley. It was soulless. I mean, it was like it was hard to get any enjoyment out of it apart from the scoreline, like in that empty stadium, and it just doesn't feel the same. I don't know. I think it's time we really did start looking at trying to get some fans back into the stadiums, even on reduced capacities.
Yeah, Gary, it's talking to you.
Yeah. Sorry. So I was there. It was soulless. You could hear all the shouting on the pitch and everything. It doesn't feel like it was such an important game, and it didn't feel like such an important game when you're there. I agree. I think more should be done to get fans in. I don't know what are the chances of next month. I know there won't be away fans in Cardiff. Do you think the Welsh executive will? I know Northern Ireland. They've got fans in today. I believe they've 600 fans in, and they're talking about 6,000, and they've got the highest cases of COVID, I think, in Europe at the moment.
Wow.
So it's possible if there's a will there.
Well, I'd like to see the Welsh. I'd like them to see change the laws change the rules for certainly our Cymru Premier sides. You know what I mean? Like the domestic football. It would be, those clubs are struggling, and they only get 500 to 1,000 people going to watch games anyway at the very most. So how that can't be socially distanced, I have no idea. But we're going to start campaigning to try and push the Welsh government on that a little bit. And I think it's an important thing. But yeah, sorry, I'm going off topic a little bit.
best of luck with that campaign. We'll definitely get behind that. My prediction for today is probably, I think maybe a draw. I think maybe 1-1 or 0-0. I hope we would avoid defeat, and not sure if we'll do enough to win the game. My heart would love a win. Head probably says maybe 1-1. David Brooks is an interesting player you mentioned. I think he's a real quality player. He played really well in that 4-1 win. I remember that in Cardiff, and really one for the future. Still a young lad, as you say. Who to score for us? That's always the big question. Maybe Shane Long to start today and nick a goal. I think he'd be due one.
Yeah. What do you reckon, Paul?
I'm not optimistic in terms of the result, but I have to remain positive somewhat. Because I think if I stay positive, a lot of the fans might. But I'm gonna go for a 1-1 draw. But I'd like to see us take the lead, because I haven't seen us take the lead under Stephen Kenny, and it'd be interesting to see what we would be like taking the lead rather than coming from behind in a game. So that's what I would like to see. A player who may, I've actually picked Shane Long in my starting 11, but a player who I might see through the middle is Callum Robinson, and I'd be interested to see if he is played down as a centre forward, because he's played that way for West Brom. And if that's the case, I think he could be the one who scores the goal today. If not, then probably Shane Long, and I'll probably say a score draw.
Score draw. So you're going to score draw. Gary's going for a tight win, I think, and I go for 1-0 Wales. 1-0 Wales.
There you go. Well, listen, Laurence, we know you have to get back and do some things, so really appreciate your time. Best luck today, and I'm sure we'll catch up again soon the next time we're playing.
Yeah, well, we play each other like every year, don't we? So I'm sure it won't be long again. And I'll be looking forward, fingers crossed, for a trip to Dublin very soon. So I absolutely love it. So listen, take care, guys. Best of luck after today, yeah?
Yeah. Cheers.